Alright, first up in disassembling the dash, make sure your emergency brake is set. You'll be messing with the shifter, so safety first, folks. Okay, take the shifter handle, spin that off, counterclockwise, lift that off. Both of your side panels here, side trim, reach up underneath. You're going to have to press real hard. I usually have to use both of my fingers, or rather both of my hands, to force it up and off. You could be very careful and use a screwdriver, or they also make plastic bodywork tools. You can grab them on eBay that I've seen some people use. But these clips right here are the friction clips that hold this piece in. So for your switches on both sides, you're going to depress the pin sticking up right there, and the plug will come right out. So on this side I've pre-popped it out a little bit, but using both hands you can do this, or like I said, be very careful with a flat-headed screwdriver, or use one of the plastic bodywork tools. Once again, this also has the friction pins that are holding it in place. These plugs also have a pin for you to press on to remove them. One there, and also one up here. Alright, so now that your two side trim pieces are removed and you've pressed down on the pins to release the plugs, you have those out of the way. Put your key in the ignition, put your foot on the brake, take the shifter, put the shifter down into neutral or drive to lower it down. With the trim piece removed, you will now see your first bolt. We'll be using a 10mm socket for all these bolts that you'll be removing. So the center trim piece down here, the shifter cover, has just the one bolt. I opened the little coin holder, or whatever that is, the storage compartment, put my hand inside, grabbed the whole console and just pulled it out. It's held friction fit just like the trim pieces were all around here. So grab it by opening these two doors. I put my hand in and just pulled the whole thing off. These have orange clips versus the yellow that the other one had. It appears mine is missing from the upper side there. Got a white one. That's a really terrible angle. Sorry about that. There's the white one up there, and the pink lower one. I'm missing one of my cigarette lighters. Need to order a replacement, but you need to unplug both the cigarette lighters. It's just a friction fit plug, and then this centerpiece just comes off, and then you can continue with the rest of the disassembly for all the bolts that you'll have to take off. I think I missed this one during the reassembly video, or sorry, during the disassembly video. Okay, let's try and get all the pieces necessary to take off the center console here in the Sienna. Okay, you have a bolt over here on the far left corner. This is driver's side that holds in the trim. That trim piece holds in this piece right here. As you can see, there's a tab down there. There's two bolts up here that we need to take out, 1 and 2. This piece is also trapping the console in, so we have to take out its bolt up here, its bolt up here, and then another bolt down there. Be careful with This piece, when it comes off, there's some wiring attached. You don't want to stress that too much, else your emergency brake. But then after you remove those pieces, that lays down. Be careful with it, because on the back of it is the ODBC connector. You want to try and stress that as little as possible. So down here, you've got one of those plastic pop-out screw pieces that I hate so much. Sometimes I get a screwdriver behind it and just force it through. Other times I can get a little screwdriver behind the centerpiece and pop it out far enough so that the large piece will go through and then release the larger clip. So you have that, and then down here you have another one of the pop-out pieces. Now on the console itself, you've got a bolt up here, a bolt in the center, another bolt on the top over here. Stand by for a second as I walk around the van. Oh, what did we have over here? Oh, we had two screws right here that you had to get from the inside, two Phillips head screws to get the back side of the baggage hanger. Two Phillips head screws there. You got another pop-in screw right there. This panel is already off, but that has a pop-in screw up the top, one of those hated things. Of course, you have to pop out the glove box. You release the glove box down, you squeeze the back sides of it, and you work two tabs through. Where's the glove box? So you smush it, so you deform that so it can get through. That is, so you get that on both sides. It's just hanging by a clip, and then also you release your tension adjuster right there. I can't remember what he's called. He has a pretty name. I've forgotten what it is. Oh, let me see. You also have to open the upper glove box and pull it out. It was covering something. I can't remember what it is, but this piece just pops right out. It's friction fit. And then at that point, I believe, yep, now it is completely loose. So with the center console removed, I uncovered the internals of the shifter by very gently prying up on these clips. There's 4 of them. And if you're just gentle and you wiggle, they all come right off without too much effort. And there's an additional cover here. I can have a look inside. Now, in order to get this cover off, we're going to have to remove clips that are right here. I've already removed this one. As you see, I'm in the process of removing the second one by working a small screwdriver behind it and wiggling around, and then the clip pops off, and then the pin can be pushed through out the other side to remove our cover. You can see now both clips are off, and I have gently twisted and removed the illumination lamp from the shifter. Both of my pins are now poking out, and I'm going to use a needle nose pair of pliers, or maybe a pair of vice grip needle nose to remove them. Alright, now that the final piece is removed, the shift cover, you can see the part covered in grease where the pressure pin rides when you shift gears. By the way, I had to unattach the cable to the side of the housing, and I used a small screwdriver down here at the bottom to begin prying the piece out. It's a very tight fit. And down here inside is the part that carries the spring and the pin, and you can see, of course, that it is broken. The engineers cheaped out on us. Hopefully there'll be enough left for the steel shaft that I'll be putting in. I was able to release the shifter by pushing here on the manual shift release, bringing the shifter down, and here you have a much better view, except it's not focusing. You have a much better view of the piece that is broken, and we'll see whether we can do our repair with our steel shaft. So you'll want to determine your depth. Put a screwdriver in, make a black mark. I put mine just a little bit low so that when I drill, and I'm going to use this length on my drill bit, I want to make sure I don't exceed that depth and drill out something inside. So when I use my drill bit to widen the hole so the steel shaft can fit in, I'm going to cut my steel shaft to this length, and I'm also going to drill to this length. Okay, well that was a lot of fun. Drilling out the shaft was difficult. I had to start out with the drill at low speed in reverse to try and kind of gouge the area out, and then ran it in forward speed, pretty high speed, had my arm braced up against the shifter, pushing up on the drill, because of course as soon as the drill got bite, it wanted to dive down deep inside. I managed to hold it to the tape length. It might not be a bad idea to give yourself a little bit of reserve there, maybe a 1/8 or a 1/16 of an inch. I ended up so when you're done drilling it out, just be mindful of that. As soon as the drill bites, it's going to want to dive down deep inside, and you're going to have to hold it to its height. After I did drill it out, I had to ream it out a fair bit because the fit for this shaft is very tight, but I don't see any deformation, so I'm hoping I didn't stress anything out. I had to use an extension and a pair of pliers to tap it in. I'm still leery of my depth a little bit, so I left just a little bit of the pin sticking out, maybe a 1/16 of an inch. So I pulled the spring out of the shaft, of course, before I started drilling. The pin had already popped out before I did anything. It popped out and fallen on the floor. So now we have the pin to go back in. I'm sorry, the spring to go back in, and then the pin to right on top. And now we have you just put a little bit of grease into this. I'm going to steal a little bit off of my shift cover here. There seems to be plenty excess off to the sides. I'm going to steal a little bit before I put it back together and put that on the sides of the pin. But then reverse assembly and we should be all done.